Hey, and welcome back. A few weeks ago, I got an email from a representative at Phenyx Pro giving me a little backstory on their company and asking if I would be interested in testing out their new PTM-11 wireless in-ear monitoring system. As a gigging musician that regularly uses in-ear monitors, I was interested to see how their product would compare to the variety of others I've used in the past. I've tried plenty of different in-ear monitor systems, and what really sets Phenyx Pro apart from their competitors is their price point. This package they sent me sells for less than $160 new on Amazon and looks to compete with other similar products costing closer to $1,000. Phenyx Pro describes this unit as an all-in-one solution for small to large venues and various applications. It's said to have crispy mono audio that will last through an entire performance, rugged built receiver and body packs with a sleek design, additional quarter-inch outputs to allow performers to monitor their own sound before routing to a mixer, easy synchronization process through IR sync on 50 different frequencies, and up to 160 feet of range between the body pack and the receiver. So upon opening this up, I was pleasantly surprised to see this nice hard shell molded case. In a world where everyone's trying to pinch pennies as much as possible and increase margins, I just think this is something nice for them to include and really will be useful if I plan on taking this out on gigs. As we open it up, you can see we've got an owner's manual on top, and it has a warranty card inside, which doesn't really look like much. But one thing I like about this owner's manual is it seems to be pretty simple, not too long and not too in-depth, just the info you need to get going. But I'm going to read this later. So as we look into the case here, I'm going to pull out this receiver first. Now upon first glance, this actually looks to be a pretty nice build quality. You can see we've got a volume knob on the front, the IR and sync buttons which work together, an LCD screen, and group and channel which deal with adjusting the frequency, and a power button. The entire body of this seems to be made of metal, which I really appreciate and should be durable enough to take out on gigs. On the back panel, we've got a power input, left and right outputs and left and right inputs, a 12 dB pad, and a plug for the antenna. I'm a little confused by the left and right inputs because from what I've researched on this, it's mono, but we'll have to see. Now on to the body pack. A little bit to my disappointment, this appears to be made of plastic. I know they have to save costs somewhere, and this will also make it a lighter weight, but if there was a part that I was most concerned about dropping or falling and breaking, it would probably be the body pack. On the top of the body pack, we've got a small antenna, an 1/8 inch headphones plug, and a volume knob that also powers on the unit. As you can see, we've got a slot for 2 AA batteries, as well as a belt clip. Moving on, you can see we've got a slot here for the 2 AA batteries they've included, and this isn't a huge deal, but I just think it's a nice move to include the batteries for the product. And now into this top unit of the case where we've got a bunch of different cables and connectors here. I'll start by opening up this antenna extension cable, which I'm guessing is to allow you to remove the antenna from the back of the unit to the front. This actually looks to be a really high quality cable, so that's a plus. And then of course we have the actual antenna here. Nothing special about this. It articulates and pivots towards the bottom, but that's pretty standard. If we keep going here, you'll see we've got one more bag, and this looks like it's the rack ears so that you can mount this into a rack case. It's got one shorter and one longer side as opposed to having 2 equally spaced parts to put it in the middle of the rack. Moving on, we've got a set of earbuds or headphones. And this is a nice gesture to include just so that you have something to use, but I would suspect most people have their own headphones or would desire something a little more high quality for in-ear monitors. It does also include a few different fitting tips, so depending on your ear shape and size, you have something that fits comfortably and hopefully won't fall out while you're playing. And last but not least, we have a power adapter. And this isn't really worth getting into too much, but the cable length seems to be pretty long, which is nice. And then also the plug doesn't seem to be too cumbersome where it might be inconvenient to fit other things around it on a power strip. So that's nice. So at this point, I can take a little time to put this all together and see how it works and report back to you once I get a signal passing through it. All right, so I've got everything plugged in and fired up, and I just have this unit set to group 1 and channel 1. I'm not sure if that's the cleanest channel, but we're just in my basement here, so I'm not really worried about a ton of other frequencies interrupting the signal. So let's go ahead and get a patch cable and get a signal from my computer sent to the unit and see if it works in the ears. So it does work. It is transmitting the signal. It's a little muddy, but maybe I'm not on the right channel. So let's go ahead and scan around and see if we can find a cleaner channel to work with. All right, not a ton better, but honestly it also might be the quality of these earbuds. I'm gonna go ahead and try a pair of my studio headphones and see if the quality's any better with that. All right, a little better, but not much. So I'm gonna go ahead and mess around with a few other channels and just see how much better I can get it and see if I can find a cleaner channel. All right, I spent some more time messing around with the different channels and just tried to see if I could get a better signal. And there wasn't a drastic change, just slight changes depending on the frequency I was working with. What I will say is for $160, this works and does the job. For me, as a drummer performing in a more local market, playing smaller gigs, I can usually get by without any monitor, but it's just a nice thing to have and something I've grown accustomed to. So I am gonna take this to some gigs and see how it does, but it's not like I'm a singer where if this failed on the gig, I would be in a terrible situation not being able to hear myself for the rest of a performance. Now, in addition to everything you need to get using this product, they did include a few accessories like these rack ears so that you could mount it into a rack unit with a digital mixer, and that would be a lot easier to carry around than having all of this separate. You can see that cable for the antenna fits perfectly in this little slot on the smaller side of the rack ear, and it mounts in there really secure with a wing nut so it won't go anywhere. It's a nice touch. Well, let's see if it fits in a rack case. All right, so as you see, these rack ears didn't exactly fit into my rack unit. And what I will say, to be fair, is I've had other rack equipment that didn't exactly fit the whole pattern, and what I had to do was just widen up these slots a bit. The other thing is there is a slot here to put your antenna through, but when I did that, the antenna actually stopped me from getting the rack ears to sit flush in the rack, so I had to move it over to this side. Not a big deal, and honestly it's probably better off here because then the antenna can sit and not cover up the unit, but just kind of annoying because that's the one I saw first and decided to use. All right, so I've brought it out to my garage so that I can test the range on this thing. And we're gonna see how far away I can walk before we get some interference or the signal cuts out. All right, here we go. Still works. I just walked 130 paces away and this thing still worked. And I have to think that's probably more than 150, 160 feet. So I guess as far as the range goes, it passes the test. It did drop out for a second at a time, but only when I was in motion moving. And I gotta imagine that might be from me jostling the unit around and creating a struggle for the antennas to communicate or something. But I'm impressed. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my final thoughts about this whole unit. I think for the price, you really can't beat it. I haven't seen another unit on the market that's cheaper than this, but still has nice metal build quality other than the body pack. And it did work. Now, was the audio quality as crisp and as clean as some of the other units I've tried? No, but those units cost upwards of $700, $800, up to $1,000. So for $160, it would be hard to beat this. What I will say is there are a few other competitors on the market in this kind of lower price range, maybe sub $300, and you'd have to see what works best for you in your situation. For me as a drummer, I'll sometimes use a tethered in-ear unit, meaning I have an XLR coming right from the mixer to a body pack, not wireless. And that works fine since I'm seated in one place, but I've definitely got up from the drums, forgot that I'm plugged in, and yanked it out on accident. So a wireless pack can be nice for that. So I guess the big question is, would I feel comfortable recommending someone else to buy this? And for that, my answer would be sure. If you need a wireless in-ear pack and you have limited funds, this is probably the cheapest option out there that's reliable, well-made, and works consistently. The audio quality leaves a little bit to be desired, but I think you have to accept that somewhere they have to save money in order to get this product to you for under $160. Big thanks to Phenyx Pro for reaching out and sending me this unit. And if you want to pick up one for yourself, you can use an affiliate link down in the description, and that will help support my channel. All right, until next time, thanks.